to Hugging the Cactus's Keep Going podcast. I'm Andy Signor, and I'm so glad to be back with a wonderful guest. Everybody meet Les. What's up, Les?
I got nothing, man. What's going on? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm excited to have this conversation because it's an important one. The topic tonight is how to avoid toxic relationships or just Amber Heards in general. I say that we're laughing. It's not funny, but I don't know how else to get through it, Les. How do we deal with this? But we're going to have to go through this, and I want to give a friendly warning because you are, for those that don't know, you aren't familiar with your channel, Spiritually Empowered Coaching is your YouTube channel. You do a lot of Johnny Depp coverage along with other stuff as well, but you are a life coach, right? Is that the certified life coach, transformative coach? You help develop skills for happiness, peace of mind, all the stuff you can see on her website, relationship recovery expert. Love all this background you have, beautiful stuff you're doing here, so people can find you over at empowerandthrive.ca or go to the YouTube channel, Spiritually Empowered Coaching, as well as you can find her on Twitter at number one, over on Twitter to find you. But tell us a little bit about your background. So what got you into this stuff?
Well, I was married to a herd, essentially, and it just ended up that I didn't have enough support going through it because I didn't realize what I was dealing with at the time. I just figured that I was being difficult. And when I finally figured out what was going on, and I realized that it took me years to figure out what was going on, I said, we got to make some changes. So I decided to be the change you want to see and start to spread the word that these people are out there and they are extremely, extremely damaging, as we can see from Amber.
Yeah,
very,
I mean,
very damaging.
This story, the Johnny Amber one, is the one I wanted to do because I know you report on a lot, and I know a lot of people want to talk about it. But I want to get to that. But I'd love, since you're open to sharing some more of the story, and thank you for opening up and like you've done. But yeah, and this toxic relationships are really scary. And I think it's sometimes couples fall into them and don't realize. And I feel like sometimes couples are even in them and don't realize. And sometimes people, I feel like, are potentially even being toxic without realizing. There's so much sort of to what this topic's about that I thought it's a good topic to talk about. What is your advice for someone who feels like they are in a toxic relationship? Like, what are the signs one should be looking forward to know they're not just in an argumentative or bad relationship, which I think some people might assume maybe, oh, this is toxic, or use that excuse in the wrong way. For you, I'm curious your take. Like, what's the definition for you of like a toxic relationship?
If a relationship has changed your personality and not in a good way, I would say that is a very, very toxic relationship. If you are now tiptoeing around your partner, afraid to say or do anything because they're going to be judgmental or they're going to get mad, or all of a sudden you find that you can't go out, maybe even to go get your hair done, that's even an issue. That's a big problem if they're monitoring your movement. And the thing is, these people are very good at being sneaky. So they will monitor your movement and you might not even realize it. But eventually they will slip up, and then they will say, they'll say something and you're like, wait a minute, how did you know that? How did you know that X, Y, and Z happened? And they'll have you questioning your own sanity is actually the biggest thing. So they'll do something called gaslighting, and you can hear it a lot in Amber's behavior and what she says. But putting her aside for a second, the gaslighting is making us think that what we saw and what we heard didn't actually happen. So next thing you know, we're questioning absolutely everything in life, and just technically taking your life and putting it on, like just tilting it a little bit and having us not really sure about ourselves anymore. Because when we got into that relationship, we were probably very secure. We were probably very upright and very confident and probably very successful. And all of a sudden your life starts to fall apart. That's probably because of a certain person in your life or persons. Because usually where there's one, there's a couple. Right. Like could be your partner and a couple of friends, or your partner and your boss, or a mom or a dad or a grandparent, or someone significant in your life. There's probably going to be a couple more. because we do get used to being treated that way. So then naturally we just get attracted to those people, and it just becomes our everyday norm. And I don't want that for people at all.
Yeah, it's such a strong topic to talk about, and it's a personal one for me to say that I'm trying to be careful in how I open up on this topic, because it's well. So in my, I don't know if you know my backstory and what happened to me, but I was in a relationship and I cheated on my wife, and it was a huge betrayal, and one that took me lots of time and years of therapy and just self-reflection to realize, why did I do that? And I realized the relationship just wasn't right. And I feel like I also had an ego. I'm a Leo, and like I have a very forceful personality, and I feel like my partner maybe lost her way and sort of that, and riding with me and sort of where I was going. And there was a lot of points where I thought, man, was I toxic? Like, am I a narcissist, or all these things? And I'm just curious for guys out there who maybe are questioning that, like, because I've had this conversation, that's why I'm trying to get there. But the answer I always get, well, no, because you're asking the questions. You actually care that she was hurt. You have empathy to the fact that she's hurt, and you've gone through therapy and you're trying to work on the fact that she's hurt. Those are not signs of a toxic person or narcissist. So I share that part of me just because I want to make sure if there's guys out there who maybe are a bit of a jerk or ego, there is a difference. I'm curious, do you am I crazy, or do you see that, you think there is something valid to that?
No, I think if you're asking the question, you're definitely not in that range. We all have a little bit of narcissism in us. We have to, or we won't make it. Like, our soul won't let us allow it, because we need to survive. So there is always going to be a little bit, but then there's the little bit, and then there's all the way over here. So if you're questioning at all, what is the matter with me? And if you're taking yourself to therapy, a narcissist will never go to therapy unless it's going to benefit them in some way, whether it be financially, whether it be usually financially is usually the only reason they'll go to therapy, if they're getting something out of it, or they're trying to hoodwink another person into something else. That's the only way they'll go. And they won't last more than 2 or 3 sessions, because people can usually see through them pretty quickly. Like, once you know what to look for, it's like this glaring like flags like all over the place when you know what you're looking for. So yeah, exactly. If you are the one asking, am I the problem? Quite possibly no one's perfect, right? Absolutely no.
I might have been the problem in a lot of ways. In fact, the cheating clearly was a problem. I mean, of course, right? There's always problems in a relationship, but I guess that's what makes it toxic. And I guess my next question was also, for someone who's in that relationship, how do they know if it's truly that and not just them bitter or upset that it didn't work? Do you know what I mean? Like, do some people sort of jump into that situation? Because it feels like Amber's trying to claim that. Let's be honest, right? She's trying to claim like Johnny was that way, but you can sort of look at it and go, well, no, it's not. Are there sort of other clear things for the person who's stuck either in that relationship or maybe using that as an excuse? Are there sort of red flags or warnings you can sort of offer to sort of help someone know, yeah, no, this is a bad place you should be in?
Well, I don't want to say this after your for what you just said, but we just clarified that you're not the narcissist in the relationship. So narcissists will cheat. 90% of them will cheat. They can't be happy with themselves because they don't love themselves. They actually loathe themselves. And unfortunately, if we don't like ourselves, then how can anyone else like us? So they tend to jump around from person to person, and they really don't have any empathy. You're absolutely right. They have no empathy. They will come in and they will take everything. So if you find that this person is taking and taking and taking and not giving, and I just had a thought of emotional support. If you're not getting emotional support from your partner, some people are just emotionally closed off and some people are just uncomfortable with emotions. But if you're pouring out, because narcissists and empaths kind of go hand in hand. So I think we can see where Johnny slips into that corner, because he's very caring. He loves animals, people, everything. So I can see how that happened. That whole relationship happened. I see it. But if you're not getting what you need, and if your partner is getting mad at you for having emotions, that's the problem. if they're getting mad at you and trying to control and mold and just, you're just not getting anything from it. Like you're depleted. And if you're getting sick a lot too, because they're energy suckers, they literally suck the energy out of us. And we can actually see that within Johnny as well. Like all the pictures that, you can see the two, you can see the change within the two, within the relationship. And unfortunately that happens in all the relationships. You can see which one is actually the problem, because they look fantastic in the relationship and the empath will start to kind of, I saw myself as just withering away, like absolutely withering away. My health went to crap. My hair was falling out. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It was just a hot mess. And that is another sign of something is not right.
Well, I want to, because I want to talk more about Johnny Depp, but because you on your website, you talk about this. It says here, in my late 30s, I was facing absolute rock bottom. I was married to a man that hated me, a job that wanted to kill me. My parents were there, but they're not that close. Nobody but myself to hold all. And so, one, I'm so sorry you went through that, for one. But two, I'm just inspired. Like, how did you get to this point? Because you are so now just beaming with more positivity. It seems like you really got yourself to a better place, which is so amazing to see. So congratulations, but I'm sure it was not an easy road. What is your advice for the people out there maybe were stuck in the place you were? What are the first steps one can take to sort of exit that relationship and find that self-worth?
Well, to exit the relationship is actually very, it's a scary time, because what they do is they will, essentially they'll make us think that they are the only thing, the only person that will ever love us. So we're already in this mindset of this is the person, this is the only, because they'll flat out tell you, no one is ever going to love you. Look at you, and they'll list off a litany of reasons. And you're like, they're right. They're absolutely right. Because you hear it over and over and over again. And most people, when they hear about this, they'll say, well, I wouldn't put up with that, because rightfully so, in this moment, I wouldn't put up with that. Are you kidding? The first time I hear that there's a litany of things wrong with me, it's like, well, okay, I'm just going to go find someone else who doesn't think that. Like, I'm going to go find someone who actually thinks that I'm kind of like the cat's pajamas, unlike you. But they do it slowly. They will love you so much in the beginning, and it will be like the Disney princess ending that we have all been taught since a very early age. Thanks, Disney. But they will do that, and then they'll kind of take it away. And as soon as they take it away, they'll give it back a little bit. So we're always trying to get to that beginning again. And meanwhile, that beginning was very, very fake. So we hang on to that and we keep going back to that. So eventually, realizing that that was fake, that's the first thing. Realizing that the first 3 or 6 months was absolutely a facade. It was not real. Realizing that, and then trying to leave, because what a narcissist doesn't like is their toy walking away. They see us as toys. They see us as possessions. They don't see us as humans. They just see us as a useful tool for them to pick up and put down whenever it suits them. So it's a very scary time. And so I would not tell I would tell people that this is your plan, and I would bring in people. I would call shelters. I would call me and get a plan in place to leave, because once they realize that you're on your way out, they will do everything possible to suck you back in. And sometimes it is detrimental. I don't want to say it, but it won't end well. They just don't handle rejection. They don't handle that kind of thing easily. And then once you're out of it, it's going to take some time to kind of unravel everything that happened in your relationship. So I would say, depending on how long the relationship was, but I've seen people do damage in 2 to 3 weeks, the same amount of damage that someone has had done in 2 to 3 years. So it all depends on an individual person. But at the end of the day, we want to stop focusing on what they're doing and focusing on what we're doing. So the second I realized, well, he is not, like, he's garbage. He's a garbage human. And I need to focus on me, because I actually asked the question, I said, okay, Les, if I don't pick myself up and actually like get myself out of this house, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? And I realized that this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And that scared the hell out of me. So I just focused on myself and I said, okay, what's the first thing I need to do? And that first thing I needed to do was eat something, have a shower, maybe go out in the sunshine for a little bit. I don't know. Just do, because we do start to isolate. Like they will actually take away all your friends. They will make sure that we have no one. They will take away your family, your friends. They'll, even if you have a really good job, that you have a support group within your work, that will go away too. They'll make sure of it. And then the isolation starts. And then heaven forbid, if they move you to an isolated spot, which a lot of them do, it's harder and harder to leave. So the first thing I did was say, okay, you know what? He's garbage and I'm not. So I need to build myself up. And it was just a slow process. And honestly, getting into spirituality and getting into meditation and getting into everything that was focused on me and not anybody else, which sounds very, very selfish, but it's self-love, was it.
Yeah, amazing story. You triggered me to also remember. I want to share that April is Assault Awareness Month, and we did it. I try to do a fundraiser every month for it, and we have one here in Tampa Bay. The Crisis Center Tampa Bay is a wonderful resource, and for anybody who is in one of these situations and having trouble, you can call a crisis center. It's dial 211, and you can speak to someone there to sort of help try to get some information, referrals. I know they do it here in most across America, at least. There's someone there 24/7, 365 to talk to you. So if you are in one of these situations and you do need help and you feel like you don't have anyone to reach out to, please know there are resources out there for you to reach out and get that help. I want to make sure I echoed that. But yeah, I mean, all fantastic talk about it, and it's so brave and of you, and amazing that you got through this and you got to the place you're at. And so now, as you've done all this, I do want to touch upon the Depp Amber side. I mean, why is this case important for you? I mean, so many people are out there saying, oh, you must just be a Johnny Depp stan, and this is ridiculous. Why don't you just buy that this was a toxic relationship on both sides and move on? What is your response to them sort of when they ask that?
If you have not been in that situation, you don't know what it's actually like. And for me, I don't want to be disrespectful to Johnny. I'm not a fan. I'm not a stan. I am a supporter of what I see. Obviously, I appreciate everything he does. I think he's a brilliant actor, have since 21 Drum Street. So it's a matter of, I see a wrong and I need to voice my opinion on it. And because I didn't get justice, because I got railed in the court system, just railed, because I was the one with the money. I was the one with everything. He came in with nothing. And much like Johnny, I had a marriage with no prenup. So I got railroaded in the courts and I didn't get any justice. Like, no one was listening to me. That's another thing. They will do things that are just so ridiculous. You're like, I can't even wrap my head around this. How am I supposed to explain it to somebody else when I can't even make sense of it? So for me, a lot of it is selfishly, if he gets justice, if he gets a win, it's a win for me. And it's a win for every single other person out there who hasn't gotten the win, who just got tossed aside like garbage, and no one believed them and no one stood up for them and no one fought for them. And it's a great learning tool too, because we can see it in real time. We can see these things happening in real time. You can say, well, there it is. Remember that thing I talked about 6 months ago? Here it is happening right here. And when people can see it in real time, they can maybe recognize it better in their own life, or they can recognize it moving forward, where they think they're experiencing it, they can go back and just ask the question, is this what I think it is? Or am I just seeing it in a perspective that isn't quite right? Because there are the odd times where I've been in a situation where I thought this person is just completely horrific. And I was just seeing it from a different light because something triggered me. Something they said triggered me. And yeah, they weren't great for me, but I attributed that to so much more than what it actually was. So, but this case has just, it consumed me, and I wasn't even going to cover it. That's the thing. I wasn't even going to cover it because I thought, who's going to take me seriously? Because I don't follow celebrity. I don't.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be covering it either, but it's a similar thing for me where it's once I heard those tapes,
Oh,
I couldn't not cover it. And even though YouTube doesn't let us and constantly is demonetizing us for it, it's interesting because it's like I see there's so many women who are behind this story, and I've seen people like, why? It's like, shouldn't you be all supporting Me Too and the women who come forward? And I think this is a prime example of, well, no, men can have that problem too. Women absolutely can lie, and that's where I selfishly get connected because a woman lied about me to try and destroy my life, and everyone just sort of ran with it, and even colleagues and friends accepted it. So when I see this happening, it just Johnny Depp, who you'd think rich, powerful celebrity actor, how the hell is he going to get kicked up in all this? No, even anybody. It just proves anybody can be put through the social media mob, the group think, sort of the believe you have to believe everybody, and I refuse to accept that. I mean, and so it sounds like we have similar reasons, but I did, before we wrap up, I know I want to have you come back. We'll talk again, but
Absolutely.
I want to talk about how to avoid an Amber Heard because we sort of joked about it before we tape, but I think it's an important one for any men that are watching me. Look, I understand why Johnny Depp dated Amber Heard. She was a gorgeous woman. As I said, it's like the Odyssey, like the sirens. Like just look at Amber Heard, you're like, wow, gorgeous. Like, what an amazing woman. Sure, yes, please, right? And then as you get to know her and you hear the real Amber Heard on those tapes and everything that she's done, just the more ugly she becomes as a person. And I'm just curious from your sake, it seems, do you agree? It feels like Johnny just got gobsmacked of like, like a cartoon, moment of just like, wow, Amber Heard, what a gorgeous, smart woman. And then sort of got eased into that, and then sort of just got, as you called him, what was the word you used? Just he's the person in the relationship that just wants to make it work and supportive and be there.
empath, yeah.
The empath. And then do you think, did Amber just sort of, I know the answer to this, but Amber clearly sort of felt like was just preying on that type of part of Johnny, correct?
Oh, yeah. And she probably morphed herself. Well, she actually did morph herself into his perfect match. That's another thing they'll do. So the first thing is so to tie into that, if they like everything you like and they start to dress like you dress and talk like you talk and just change their lifestyle to kind of mirror yours, that's a huge problem because we're all individuals and we're all different and we all like what we like. And I think she did that with her dressing, and I know she did that with her books. I know she got rid of all her paperback and she got hardcover books because that's what Johnny likes. She decorated her house to make him feel more comfortable. I read an interview with her, and it said that she said that the biggest draw people have to her, and here is her ego shining through. She said, I ask questions and people love that about me. Like, aha, she asks questions to dig into your brain to figure out, how can I get what I want out of you? How can I? So if they're asking a lot of questions and you're telling them a lot of things and yet you don't know anything about them, if you start asking questions, you're getting vague answers, or you get an answer and a couple of weeks later you may get a different answer. That's another huge flag. Like, that's another one of, wait a minute. If you have to start questioning what this person said to you, like if you have to start taking notes of what they said and when they said it to like cross compare, and you're doing all this, that's just a huge red flag. But at the end of the day, to find a good match partner, love yourself first. Know that you are okay on your own no matter what. So we aren't seduced by the sirens. So we aren't lured in, because she was a beautiful girl. I thought the same thing. I thought, dear God, look at this woman, like almost perfection looking at her, right? Like, I'm confident enough to say that. And when we don't feel complete, we're always looking for something outside of us to complete us. So when we're whole and complete and we're strong within ourselves and we love ourselves and we're cool, confident, and whatever, those people will come in, but we are quick to let them go.
Right.
And just know that it's okay if you shove people, like if we're allowed to put people wherever we want in our life. And if they come in and you see something and you need to cut the cord, cut the cord. There's going to be another amazing person on the other side of that. I don't want anyone to be years into it and saying, oh my goodness, I was hoodwinked by this person. Because in that audio where Johnny said, you weren't real. And that broke my heart. When I heard that, I cried for him, because it's true. She was never real. They're not real. They don't know who they are. And I'm sure she was a different person for Elon Musk. And I'm sure she was a different person for James Franco. And I'm sure whomever she is interacting with, she is a different person for each of them to mirror them and to get what she wants out of them.
Well, and you can tell it's her reactions on Twitter when she engages with some of the trolls and people is another sort of red flag of just like, dude, if you really aren't this person, you shouldn't be here caring about what these people are telling you, right? It's like she's stewing. You can just sort of tell that us stands being all supporting him, because God forbid we support him. You did a great video which you talked when you played the tapes of her just like, why did you file that report? You know, that's not going to wreck my truth. And Johnny just sitting there like, I had to. What do you mean? Like these constant bickerings between the two of them that I'm telling anybody who's sort of on the fence of this case, go listen to some of the audio and you will hear just the horror as to why people like us have stepped up to defend this man, because it's just disgusting to hear it. You could hear that's what's so frustrating too about the appeal. It's like those tapes tell a person who a person really is. When you're recording someone in private and you hear them in private, it's so much more telling than what someone says on the stand. Like, I'm sorry. It's easy to tell the judge, yes, I didn't do that, Your Honor. But it's a lot harder to do it when you're in the heat of a moment of a fight with a partner. Then you're going to get a lot more juicy reality of what the relationship's like. And Johnny's never the one who's like causing the trouble in those fights. He's always the one who's trying to back off and like, I don't want to have this. I need to get away. Is this too toxic? And she won't let him. So it's immensely frustrating. So those are the red flags. And so I guess final advice here as we wrap this topic up to avoid the toxic relationships or the Amber Heards, I think you gave the best advice, which is love yourself. What's the best way to do that, Les? What's your advice to sort of help someone who's maybe struggling with that? What can one do to better love themselves?
There's so many different ways, but you know what? One way, and it sounds really silly, and a lot of people don't do it just because it is silly, but it really, really works. When you're brushing your teeth in the morning, look yourself in one eye, just focus on one eye and keep repeating to yourself that you love yourself. Just keep telling yourself, I love you, I love you, I love you. And one day you're actually going to believe it. And when we love something, we don't want anything to happen to it, right? We want to protect it. We want to wrap it up in bubble wrap and cherish it forever. And that's what we're looking for in a partner. But when we can do it for ourselves, it's amazing. And you'll also call in a partner who will also love themselves, and that it reflects off each other. So as you're healing, things, you'll change and you'll shift, but one day you're just going to wake up and you're going to feel so much better. It is literally overnight. And it took me years to get there, but one night I woke up the next morning and everything changed, and I haven't looked back since. I refuse to go back to that. I will never go back to that place. But just tell yourself that you love yourself. And I know it sounds silly, and I know a lot of people won't do it, but it works. And it's something you can do in the privacy of your own bathroom while you're brushing your teeth. So.
Yeah, and if you're struggling, why not do it? With who's watching? Stop worrying about what people are going to think that you do in your private life. I think that's brilliant, beautiful advice. So go do it. I'm going to try it if I'm ever feeling down. Les, so awesome to have you here. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go on over to Spiritually Empowered Coaching. Hit that subscribe button like I just did. Check out our amazing content. You can also, you can get it. Can people get you? They can book you for, it looks like one-on-one coaching. Awesome. Go to empowerandthrive.ca. This link's all on her Twitter and everything else. You can find it here. If you go over here to her Twitter, Spiritually EMP1 on Twitter, you can hit up her anytime, her website, etc., and learn more about how she can help or how you can watch her content. Les, wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. Please come back. Yes?
Yes. Thank you, Andy. Thank
Anytime,
you so much. I would love to.
You need something, collaboration, let me know. If you guys are watching for the first time, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you come back for more awesome interviews like this one, and stay tuned for more here on Hugging the Cactus.